Welcome everyone to episode 7 of our Dokeycraft series. If you remember the end of last episode, we were here finishing up the gas farm and we have done a full AFK session for about 24 hours. And yes, I have organised all of the drops into these shulker boxes. As you can see, we've got plenty of gunpowder. This is also a really good gunpowder farm, which we've almost got a full 9 shulker boxes of that. As well as gas tiers, we have managed to get 4.5 shulker boxes of gas tiers, which is extremely good compared to last season. I have had to come like after 8 hours or so and had to keep taking out all the items in the chest because this whole area will be clogged up and you would see the items fill up in these hoppers because these chests here are full. I need to expand this storage system. But either way, if we continue to AFK this as much as we can before war, we are going to have plenty of end crystals. So this farm is very efficient, very server friendly, and works perfect. It is a bit of a unique farm using sweet berries as their way of killing the ghasts, which is very cool. And as well as all the torches stop any of the skeletons spawning on the platforms. So yeah, let's head back to base. And I've got quite a bit of redstone to achieve in this episode. So if you remember last episode, we were able to go through and create this sort of design which will expose the shulker boxes, allowing the player to grab both the shulker boxes in the chest, as well as if they don't want a full shulker box, just the items out of the shulker box. I have added something else for the rest of the items that don't need to be put in shulker boxes. Right here is going to display all of the items in the game. As we can see, from here we have access to not only 1, 2, 3, but 4 chests on each side, making it, if we have both sides in total, 8 chests we can have access to, which means 8 items in total. So you guys know this little strat right here, which has the redstone torch with redstone, comparators, repeater and all that, which locks the hoppers like this. Well, we've done that, but 4 times on each side. Obviously we've had to change up the system a bit. As you can see, it's a bit different up here and as well as here, but down here you can see what this whole thing does, and it's the same on both sides. Now yes, we've got plenty of items in the game, so we're still going to need a lot of these. Now this here is what you call 112, I think, of them in a row. I've started designing a bit on what I want the layout to be. As you can see, this whole hallway here is enough to have every single item in the game. It does seem pretty long and pretty big, but it actually isn't as big as you think it is. And it's pretty decent with access to items, as well as you can get around places pretty quickly. And then when we turn around, you'll see that we've got more shulker box displays here, like I said earlier, which has all of the items. And I'll probably need about 50 of them in total, even though I did say last episode I'll need 20. I've kind of changed it a bit, so I'm going to need 50. If we come up here, you'll see that I have all the items up here. And then if we see here, these are the items I want to put in shulker box displays. The rest of these items here aren't going to be items that I'm going to collect heaps of, and so I'll just put them in chests for now. And even if these chests do get full, I can always just add a shulker box here and there and fill it up. And with Elytra especially, it'll be easier to just fly down these hallways, so it's got quite a bit of room for that. You guys have probably not seen this yet. This here is what you call a mass crafting station. Now, it does have a bit of redstone underneath, and it does look a bit confusing. But I'm going to try and implement this into Dokeycraft, into my base. This is not a necessary thing I want to build, but once I'm done with my storage system, I want to add this to my system. Let me show you how this thing works. I'm only going to put 3 stacks in a shulker box for now, just so I can show you how it works. But in reality, this thing can hold up to basically whole barrels of items. As you can hear, if I put this in the barrel, you'll hear a piston go off, which is showing that there has been a shulker box loaded in the system. And so once I put this in here, it should be all organized. So I'm here trying to make comparators. And you can use this for other things. You can use it for mass crafting observers, for example, if you need millions of them. But basically, now that I've put all the items in their dedicated slot, just like a normal crafting table, as soon as I flick this lever, you stand on top of this, let the machine do its thing, you can hear it, and eventually items will come flying into my inventory, and I'll be able to craft as many comparators as I can. There we go. Comparator, comparator, comparator. And then you put them into the shulker box. And obviously, the machine is going to turn itself off once there is none left, which there is in this case. And then you flick this lever back off, and then it stops working. And then you can fill up the barrels again for the next set of items you want to make. So continuously items are going to come through, and you're going to continuously craft heaps of whatever item you choose. And then obviously once this shulker box is filled up, for example, it will get rid of it and put a new shulker box there. And that old one will appear over here. And all of the empty shulker boxes that were in the system that I put in there end up in here. And then obviously up here is where you have access to put in the empty shulker boxes, and you can extend this at the end. As well as I've put some signs down here as well for to-do lists, like we're going to need an enchantment area, crops area, extra crafting and potions, which is going to be like a brewing area with all of the other crafting stations such as smithing tables, etc. We're also going to need a spare shulker box area, which is going to have all the spare shulker boxes the system's going to produce. As you know already, there's going to be plenty of spare shulker boxes once they're emptied in this session especially. And then obviously over there is going to be spare shulker boxes, so that system's kind of going to sort it out to make sure nothing is empty and the system can keep refilling itself. Because as you can see here, in this system you don't want to run out, because then once this shulker box filled, all these hoppers will just be clogged up. And eventually the system will stop collecting items. As well as we need to bring in a super smelter. We've already got a super smelter in the industrial area, but I'll like a small one in the base just to make it easier to smelt loads of things instead of having to travel to the industrial area, even though it is only 300 blocks away, or less even if you travel in the nether. And obviously I want a villagers area or villager trading hall, which will be easier to access villagers. Allows me to grind and make full sets of armor and gear in case I die and lose everything. So we've got plenty of building to do. This really isn't the layout I want to go for, especially because of the room that I've got at my base. This is just to show you how big this area is going to be. And yes, I didn't see this coming, because I was planning out to do something more like that instead of this. But I'm going to need to do more mining at my base in order to fit this in. Because this thing is pretty massive, and I'm going to need to mine it all out. So that kind of explains what is going on. Obviously for this here, the items will flow on a water stream sort of around here, where they'll be halfway in the water and on the hopper, which it will actually pick up all the items here. The water will push the items along the blocks here, and once it's gone through all the top rows of the system, it will then loop around, go down, and then come across this section, loop around, and then come across this section, and then once again loop around, and then come across these sections here. So it will make sure to be touching every single hopper it comes across. And then obviously it'll do that on both sides. Hopefully in the time before the item despawns. As well as in the system there are going to be plenty of chunk loaders, as the system is going to need to be running by itself without a player needing to load those chunks. So we're going to rely on chunk loading systems to keep this farm up and going, because even though the items should be fine if I do leave, it has a possibility of either the items despawning or something breaking in the system that it just stops working. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen. I'm going to try and figure out a design to build this, so then I can actually start building this on Dokeycraft. Because I want to get a good start on it, make sure it's all working and everything's fine. However, there is one problem, and that is I'm going to need a couple stacks of sticky pistons, which I'm going to still manually farm slimes like I have done before. Usually for all my redstone, I would build either a farm or something like that. But at the moment, I don't actually have a slime farm, which I want to build at some point. At the moment, I am manually farming slimes at a swamp biome. Get all of the slime balls I'm going to need. So I'm going to have to do that, and then eventually I will build a slime farm, just probably not in this episode, because I have big plans for what I want to do with the slime farm. So I'm back on Dokeycraft, and in order to build all of these, we not only need to make room for it, but we've also got plenty of materials to gather. Let's go and gather all these materials. I do have plenty of stuff here as well, so I might already have a lot of the materials I'm going to need. However, I do need some other stuff which I don't already have. I've now got all the materials, guys, for all of the display shulker box loaders. However, I don't actually have a spot to put them right now. So I've got plenty of mining to do, to be honest. Originally, as you guys know, I had a different idea for what I wanted to do for my storage, but I've changed it up plenty of times, and now I have to mine out a whole lot more to fit in the system I showed you earlier. So as we can see here, I have cleared out a big area here, not as big as this area here, but in the end, it's worked out really well, and we've got enough room to build the 50 of the shulker box loaders that we've got ready to build. You can see times mined here. We have done 187,000 stone in total this season, and a member by the name of Skull Crusher was the one who mined out this section down here. Imagine how big the number would have been if I mined that out. But in the end, we've got enough room now to start building on the next part of our base, which is the shulker box loaders. So let's get a start on that. And here we are, all done with the shulker box loaders. As you can see, I've kind of tested this out a bit with the rotten flesh, and it all works perfectly fine, so that is good to know. But also, I've crafted quite a bit of shulker boxes, using up all my shulker shells. I have none left, so I'm going to have to go to the farm to AFK more shulker shells. But all of these droppers here are full of shulker boxes. I haven't added anything onto this end here yet, but as you can see, all of them up to this point here is just full of shulker boxes. So there's about approximately, I don't know, hundreds of them in there. But I've also added in this little system just here. Because there are two sides to this area, or this area to be filled up with shulker boxes as well, I've added in a little system which will read when it's run out of shulker boxes. It's nothing too complicated, but what it does is when this is filled up with shulker boxes here, it'll basically send a signal to this area here which will tell this dropper here to stop shooting out shulker boxes. As you can see, I've had a chest here to test it all out. And as you can see, I accidentally put the chest in, but the chest comes along there and will end up just here, I think. Oh no, I haven't connected up the hopper to there yet. But yeah, it will end up just there. And when there is a shulker box here, I'll use a chest for example, it will send a signal over here to tell this dispenser to stop firing, so it won't actually shoot out that chest. So this dropper here will have a chest inside of it, or shulker box in the case of this. And it'll be filled up, but then as soon as I take this out of there, it will read it as, oh, we've emptied out over this side, so we're going to take this chest over here, or shulker box, and put a new one in here. And once this is filled up once again, it'll tell it to stop shooting more shulker boxes over. So it basically balances it, so then when this is filled up, it doesn't send shulker boxes over, but then as soon as a shulker box is used, or it starts to get low, and it reads it as, okay, we are empty, we need to shoot more shulker boxes over. So that's how this side works so far. But however, I'm going to need more shulker boxes if I want to fill up this side as well. I'm going to have an area which has spare shulker boxes in it, which will connect to the system here. When the system sorts out shulker boxes and they're emptied, they will be taken to the spare shulker box area. But then the spare shulker box area is going to be connected to this. So that's how the shulker boxes will be rotated around. So then they will be emptied, and then they will be put back into spare shulker box system, and then that will read, okay, I need to send it to this area over here, which is where the system will stay full. The downside about it is the fact that I have to fill up all of this with shulker boxes, so it's going to take a really long time to get all of the shulker boxes. And another thing is, this is only 1 times hopper speed, which still isn't bad. Like, I don't mind it being like that. It just means it's a little bit slower and takes time for the farm to actually sort out all the items. But that doesn't really matter because we'll be having a chunk loader anyway, so it will be loaded basically 24/7, or not even 24/7, but basically the chunk loader will be turned on when items are being sorted. As soon as items aren't being sorted, then it will turn off. So I'm going to quickly connect up all these systems here, make sure everything's all connected up, and I'm going to go AFK at the shulker farm, get these hoppers all sorted. I'm going to let this run for a bit, and in the end, I think it's this one here should be filled up, but this one here should be empty, or is it this one? I don't know, but one of them will be filled up and then the above it will be empty. So let's go AFK this shulker farm and we will be back. So we are back after another overnight AFK session. And we've got plenty of shulker shells, over a shulker box of shulker shells, which will last us a long time hopefully. I may need to come back here again, but it won't be for a while at least. So let's hopefully fill up this whole entire system with these shulker shells, and you shouldn't be there. And boom. I'll be back with you once this whole thing is filled up. So this system should turn off very soon. Oh, there we go. And as you can see, hopefully they stop coming up now. There they go. And exactly what I said earlier. It wasn't that hopper, it was this one. This one fills up and then this one's empty. So it stops right at that exact point every time. So what I've quickly just done then is I've gotten rid of all the light blue wool in these gaps here, you can see, to make it look a little bit cleaner when there isn't shulker boxes facing out. Because as usual, there are shulker boxes that usually face out here, but we don't actually have the items in the system yet to be able to do that. So we'll have to wait for that. As well as I've added a little bit of a water system here for the empty shulker boxes that are going to come back down and across here. So if I had a shulker box here with light blue wool in it, for example, and we put let's just put it here for now, and we press the button to empty it, the shulker box will actually go along through the system, same out that side there, and it will come out here and then back to get itself sorted out just in case it has any items in it, and then it will be put into these barrels here. Because even though they're empty shulker boxes and I don't need it to go through the shulker box unloader again, just in case there are items in those shulker boxes, I'm going to make it come through the system and then run through and then end up where it belongs. So enough with that, I think it's time we do a prismarine farm. I know I'm not really in desperate need of one, but I've got multiple reasons why I do need to build one. That is, first off, Starkins has been non-stop wanting me to build this, so it's kind of for him as well. But also, I wouldn't mind getting some sea lanterns in as part of this base, as like part of the roof design. But also, prismarine farms are a good source of XP when you build them correctly. So having an XP farm that is right at our base will actually be really helpful instead of having to travel to the end every single time. And I've actually heard that this XP farm, or prismarine guardian farm, whatever you call it, is actually quicker than the Enderman farm at giving you XP, so this will be so much better. I just loaded Minecraft up, and this is what it gave me. April Fools. I totally forgot about that, and it gave me a fright. And yes, I did just wake up like 20 minutes ago. When did I put you there? I can't even hit him, bro. Right behind me here, as you can see, we've got ourselves the Guardian farm I was talking about. It is a very simple design. All I did was put scaffolding, soul sand, and then made them come up here through a water elevator, and they land right here, taking a lot of damage, and all I need to do is swing my sword. And as you can see, it produces a good amount of stuff. As you can see, as I stand here in this little AFK spot, they're all going to fall down. The only annoying thing about it is the thorns, but that's why I do have a beacon here, so then I don't actually take damage from the thorns. And it does give more XP than an Enderman farm. There's only one downside about it, and that is the fact that I have to stand up here in order to get the max results from down there. And they are out of my reach when I'm up here, so I am going to have to try and fix that, but that isn't too bad of a fix. Yeah, no, April Fool's Day is today, and I don't know what to expect. Now, I have been wanting to do this for a while, and that is build something at Ruben's base right in this area right here. And yes, he's like, oh, make sure it fits in, make sure it's one of these houses. But no, I want to build something which will not fit in this area, which will kind of stand out a little bit more, which is also a reference to my Lord of the Ring builds that I am doing. I'm going to be building the Eye of Sauron, which looks over everyone, and it's going to be so funny. It's going to be tall. I don't mind if he destroys it, because there's a chance he will. I just want to see his reaction to me building in his little village kind of town area that he's been building. Now, I have already had all the materials, but the netherrack needs to be smelted to become nether bricks, because I don't have many bricks. So I'm going to dump all of this into the super smelter and let this smelt. Shouldn't take too long, as this super smelter here is really good at doing its job. Well, I'm hoping that should be enough. If I do need more, there's still another shulker box I can smelt of netherrack. Actually over. I don't know how much netherrack I've got, but I've got plenty of it. So let's go build this thing over at Starkin's base, and let's see what his reaction is like. I didn't realize how big this is going to be. I'm definitely going to need more nether bricks, so I'm going to have to smelt some of that while I build on this. But that is the first section of this done, and as you can see, it's a decent size, and it's going to be really tall. And there is the base layer done, which actually looks pretty sick. I'm hoping that this is going to look really good at the end. I had to go get more nether bricks because I didn't realize how big this structure was going to be. So far this is coming along very well. Not a difficult design to make, but it looks really good, which is the main part. This bunny bro keeps scaring me. Trying to build on April Fool's Day was a bad option. Once again, it is coming along very well. So far, we are close to finishing. We've got the top section to do left, and then we've also got a little bit of the interior, but this is not a build which I'm going to be doing much of the interior. The only reason is because we have windows there, and we kind of don't want to see empty space through those windows. So I'll be putting like lava there. And that should be the tower done. You can see the eye watching over Starkin's village. And I want to see what his reaction's like. So I'm going to have to wait till he comes online, which is going to be a bit, which we may have to wait till next episode to see. No joke, I was just standing here looking in this chest as the items were getting sorted out. I was just making sure that this machine works, and you made a creeper hissing noise. And I freaked out, jumped out of the chest, and I realized it's April Fool's. You are the one who's making these noises. And you scared the living daylights out of me. I'll see if he does it again. Oh my gosh, did you not just hear that? That was you. A creeper sound effect of a creeper taking 4 damage. Oh my gosh, it hasn't started doing it until now. To end off the video, I have one thing I want to achieve. And as you can see, I got plenty of grass in my inventory from all of the hill mining I've done out over here, as well as there is still a bit in these chests here, as well as Skull Crusher, a member on the server, as I said earlier, also mined out a massive load of grass. He mined out so much of this grass, it is unreal. So with all this grass, we need to start doing a little bit of terraforming, which is going to take a really long time. I don't have much of a building time lapse up ahead. I've got a time lapse which involves covering all of this with grass. And when I mean all of this lake you can see right here is all just going to be covered in grass. And from there I can easily just terraform things around it. So let's hop into a time lapse where I cover this whole entire lake with grass blocks.